Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Jerry's Basic Jewelry Benchwork. Number 9, this one is about antiquing and lapping a flat surface on a piece of jewelry. Okay, just really quick, I'm assuming you already know what lapping is, L-A-P-P-I-N-G, but I'm just going to cover it quickly. Lapping is when you're polishing or basically polishing a flat surface against another flat surface. A lot of people are familiar with using a buff on a wheel, a cotton buff. Basically, you're polishing your flat surfaces against a curved surface. Lapping is when you're using a flat surface against a flat surface. Now, a lot of people don't have, a large wheel to polish stuff against. If you do, you might be familiar with this. This is basically a hard felt buff that gives you a flat surface that runs on your polishing wheel, and you can buff against this and lap against it when you're polishing. And you can get variations. You can have them in wood, sometimes with a knife edge, slight curve. Now, if you don't have that, what you can do, and I still do this a lot for a lot of my jewelry, is I will use a piece of glass. You want a piece of tempered glass because when those drop accidentally, they break into lots of little pieces and not lots of really, really sharp shards, which go everywhere. Not that I would know about that, but they do get everywhere, and okay, well, I do know about that. Just do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you use tempered glass because it breaks better and cleans up easier. Now, what you do is you take your glass, which is a very flat surface, and you put your piece of sandpaper on there. You take your item to be sanded and basically 3 pulls, turn a little 3 pulls. You don't want to just all over the place because you're just going to get tired and you're going to get inconsistent sanding. Now you can see where I'm actually already starting to sand on this. So basically you do that, and eventually you will work down. That area this area will expand, and I'll have the whole area flat. Then I will go to a finer sandpaper, and then finer and finer until I get a really nice surface. Then I can buff that, and I will have something very, very, very nice that I can work with. And that's a basic explanation of lapping. Okay. Now, a friend of mine who was doing etching, where the design is raised and she had the background etched out, was antiquing those, but she was using a round buff to try and take the surface off of the antiquing on her items, and she was reaching into the background as well. So I gave her a little advice, and I thought I would share what I do as well. Now, there's 2 ways when you antique an item, and we're going to start by antiquing this. This is a pendant made by yet another friend of mine. It is a snowflake brass, and if you look carefully, the snowflake is made of a circle of women dancing. It's a very pretty item. So I'm going to re-antique that, and I'll turn this off for a moment, antique this, and then we will start over. Okay, one second. Okay, we are back. Now, I'll show you the pendant. That's quite a bit of difference. It's very dark, and you can see it's dark in the background and on the foreground. I want to leave the antiquing in the lower areas and just take it off on the top. And to do that, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can get a stick, not a very large one, put like a little piece of leather on there. Just on this part here, you can see that it's a little piece of leather. You can take and rub it with a little piece of polish, rouge or tripoli. Just get some on there. Make sure it's on there pretty well. You don't need a lot. Rub it in. where it's nice and smooth. And then you can use that, and I'll use this on another piece here. And just rub it on your piece. And this is actually a stamped piece, but it shows what it does. You can see that it takes the color and stuff off of the top, but it leaves the stuff, the background and everything else alone. So that's one way of doing it. Or if you have a large piece, what you can do is first you go and get yourself a little scrap piece of fabric. This is cotton, and I will take and also use an old t-shirt. Works very well as well. You want something without a nap. It's a very nice even weave. And then you get yourself a can of spray adhesive and a plastic sheet. Just an old piece of plexiglass works fine. Okay, and then you glue your fabric to the plexiglass so that it's very flat. Okay. Now what you do is you take your polish and you just rub on there. Okay. And make sure you don't have any little pieces or chunks. And basically you rub an area on there. Okay. Now this is where the lapping comes in again. You take your piece, which is dark, and you just rub on there with a moderate pressure. You don't want to grind down in, because sometimes that'll make if you have thinner pieces, that'll make it flex a little bit and you don't get as good a polish. And there you go. It's all done. That's all it takes. It's very quick. It's very easy. The antiquing they got on the sides, I can take that off with a normal buff, or even with the little stick one, which I had. You just rub that. To hit those areas. And this is rouge, so, and all you have to do is go rinse this off, and you're done. And there you go. That's lapping a large flat surface and removing antiquing. So that works very well. You can use that for other stuff as well. Gives you a nice flat surface. Thank you for watching. I hope you watch my other videos in my series. And if you have any questions, you can always go to my website, which is scrolling across the bottom right here, www.livingstonjewelers.com. You can always email me as well at glivings@livingstonjewelers.com, and I will have that scrolling here as well. Thank you very much, and you have a good evening.